married with 4 kids. Kind of unique story with my family. Of the 4, one is biological. 3 are inherited through the marriage.
Okay.
Wife was married, and married to a Marine, and the Marine had a service-connected death.
Oh, man.
And so left her and the 3 kids. I met her after that. The rest is history as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
But but now they're my own kids, and coaching the 12-year-olds baseball team, showing up to as many softball games. We got a swimmer, softball player, volleyball. I mean, you name it, we're everywhere.
That's
and
awesome.
So wife kind of holds it down. I'm traveling a lot. Actually, she was out of town this week, so I was the one trying to hold it down, and don't do it as well as her. But
None of us do, my friend.
no. So that's kind of the season of life we're in right now.
Yeah.
15, 14, 12, and 4. And so it's a lot of fun trying to, even though we're constantly tired,
Yeah.
And whatnot, it's like everybody says, when it's all said and done and you no longer have the kids in the house, you're going to wish you still had it. And so trying to cherish it while we can, even though it's costing us a lot in gas and everything else.
Man, yeah, that's so Alexa and Wiley are both in that season right now. Alexa's, she'll be 11 this month, and then Wiley's 7. He just started playing rugby, and I got roped into helping coach, and I love it. It's so much fun to be there, and we're teaching them about commitment, because of course there's those days where they're like, I don't want to go to rugby, or I don't want to go to baseball, and it's like, well, okay, this is a learning lesson here. So but yeah, you're running around constantly every day, every night, you're doing something, and then with multiple businesses too, you're already running 100 miles an hour as it is. So but it's you learn to appreciate it, because you're right, it's not going to be here in 10 years. I mean, they'll be able to drive themselves. Alexa will be able to drive herself in another 5 years. That's scary,
Yeah, it's very, very scary.
When you look at how much time you have them in the house, I've thought about this with my daughters. 8 more years or 7 more years at this point. She's gone, or at least she's, hopefully being an adult, which is awesome. But, we won't have those dinner every night, having dinner together at the table, or running around to sports, or, being lacking sleep because you don't get the kids to bed until 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then you get to bed late and have to be up early. It's a great season of life to be in.
We'll have to find a new hobby at that point in time. Right now it's baseball games and softball games, volleyball, swimming, and taxi driving.
Taxi driving. That's what they don't tell you as a parent, is you're going to be a taxi driver.
Right.
So tell us about where you grew up and a little bit about your upbringing. All that.
So for kind of split time between, grew up in my, kindergarten, preschool through 6th grade, kind of in the Lawrence area here. And, moved to several different places in Lawrence. And then from between 6th and 7th grade, that summer moved actually more into the inner city.
Okay.
I'd say my parents definitely struggled financially as a kid. And that's part of what led me to do what I do today. And it was certainly, I imagine, thinking back on it, that it was even more of a challenge than what I even realized. I knew, you've got friends, whose families do really well, and the difference as a kid. You just may not feel the full effects of it. And so that's one thing I think my parents did a really good job of, is even though we struggled financially, they never, really made me feel that way. Right. And so, I mean, I've had everything that everyone else had. We certainly had a lot of tough situations. One of the places we live in an apartment, and it was being torn down.
Oh, really?
And all the buildings were torn down, and ours was the last one standing.
Man.
I think we were maybe even the last or second to last people in the building left. Still didn't know where we were going to go. And so experiences like that were definitely, unique and tough to as a kid, just to kind of understand and see what your parents are going through. And eventually got moved and out of there and whatnot, and into a few other places and whatnot. And so, yeah, it was different. It was tough. You know, a lot of tough lessons, especially when we moved into the inner city. It was certainly a whole new challenge.
Yeah.
You know, new friends, new schools, a lot tougher schools. You know, and so it's just a much different experience in those schools.
Much different environment.
Much different environment. You know, the biggest challenge, I think, in entering the schools in IPS was just the fact that, you know, not too many classrooms were just full of kids there to learn.
Right.
You know,
they're there because they have to be,
right.
or they're getting food. I mean, my mom taught at IPS for 35 years, and she told me, I mean, some of these kids, the only time they would eat is when they came to school.
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
You know,
yeah, it's tough.
Much different lifestyle down there.
Yeah, very, very tough. And so my mom worked really hard to, you know, IPS does have some, back when I'm not sure what all they have now, but back when I was there, that, you know, you kind of had your core classes that kids went into, and then you had what they called their magnet programs.
Okay, yeah.
And so
accelerated.
So I got into there, and Mom really pushed for me to get into the magnet program, and that certainly helped. Many more of those kids were much more interested in learning that were in that, and so that certainly helped me with my education path, and whatnot. And then actually ended up making my way to a school in Muncie. Lived here in Indianapolis, but it's a school called the Indiana Academy.
Huh.
You live in a dorm there in Muncie. It's right on Ball State's campus.
Oh, that's cool.
Is
it still around today?
Yep, still around today.
Interesting.
It's technically a public school.
Yeah.
When I went, it was fully public in the sense that you didn't pay tuition or room and board. I think that's changed a little bit now. I think tuition's covered, but you have to cover some room and board cost.
Okay.
I think is the way that it works.
Yeah.
But I went there. It's just your junior and senior year.
Okay.
And that was complete shock going into that. Going from IPS high school, where, to be honest, at that level, in those high schools, it was pretty easy. You know, I felt like doing good academically, you know, and what can go wrong? You know, this is pretty easy. And so got the opportunity through a friend to go visit the school. And when I went there, I was like, yeah, I'm interested. I want to do that. So kind of went through the process, eventually got accepted, and found out, you know, there's some kids that are really smart out there.
That's awesome.
You know, and so it was a good experience for me. It's one of those experiences where you hate it the whole way through, and then you get done and you're like, it's probably worth it. You know, it's kind of tough going through it, but really challenged you. Made, especially the first year of college, kind of like, this is actually easy compared to that.
Yeah.
So teachers were fabulous. You know, just a completely different experience than what most people get in high school. And so that really kind of set the stage for me to kind of know what it's like to have to critically think really hard, because they challenge you so hard on that. Really worked you academically, you know, way past than what you ever thought you would have to in high school. Writing long papers on things like Shakespeare, you know, what does love mean in this particular Shakespeare play, writing, you know, 10-page papers on that sort of thing, and things like that, where you really got to sit down and think through things. And so it was a challenge for sure through there, but it's kind of, you know, through the upbringing and the education part, it was kind of up and down, right? It was 1st through 6th grade, you know, pretty standard, you know, didn't have much, but education was good.
Yeah.
Then education went downhill pretty quickly from there. And then shot right back up, which I think was a big help. It was a good decision to go.